It is Sunday morning, and you know what that means. It is time for the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. We have your NFL Week 4 Fantasy Football Roundtable. We got you covered. You get all these injuries. We're bringing in reinforcements here, guys, okay? Because we're going to answer your questions. We're going to get sorted for Week 4 in the NFL. We're going to have our DraftKings Sportsbook best bets. And, of course, we're going to preview a must-win for the Browns in Las Vegas versus the Raiders. That's coming up right now on the show. Let's go.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara, the sickest Cleveland Browns podcast.
Chubb runs, he's to the 10, 15, he's to the 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. There goes Chubb, he's to the 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Shabba-lubba hub.
It's gonna be sick.
Welcome, everybody. Week 4. We are here hitting the quarter point of the NFL season. Okay? Crucial, as we know. The Browns 1-2, as are the Raiders. We've tried to wash away the stink from that Giants game. I've settled down somewhat, but I'm still pretty frustrated with how this team has been playing. With a bit of the lack of accountability, I think, for Deshaun Watson. Amari Cooper getting a little edgy, too. Maybe that's what this team needs, though. This team under Kevin Stefanski has always been better as an underdog. They get too high, too low. They read their own press clippings. It doesn't work. Maybe they need that little edge. Maybe they need that little push. And remember, the Raiders were the favorites until Davante Adams was ruled out. Max Crosby, their best defensive player, was also ruled out, but now is listed as probable. He was ineffective last week in the loss to Carolina for them. So is he in? Is he out? I love it if he's out. The swing now has been back to, I believe the Browns are up to, 2.5 point favorites on the Raiders on the road. So that swing with Crosby and Adams out completely switched. 3-point swing there in the Browns' favor. Make sure to click notifications on, subscribe, jump in the chats, get your comments in, use hashtag AskAndy on social, on X at AndyMC81, at SickPodBrowns. You can jump in the chat. Put your questions there as well on YouTube, on Twitter X, on Instagram at AndyMC Sports. Let's get to this Browns game, folks. But first, now you might notice I'm wearing my new shirt, Stadium Mustard. New sponsor to the show, baby. New sponsor to the show, Bill and the Crew at Stadium Mustard. Absolutely love these guys. They're on board. You see the brown mustard, folks, the Dijon. And I've been having Stadium Mustard since I started going to Cleveland annually in 2007. Stadium Mustard. You can order it online. If you're in Ohio, you can get it at the ballpark. You can get it at Browns games. You can get it at the minor league baseball stadiums all over. You see that name, Stadium Mustard. That gives you that zing, that good feel. People laugh. They say, Andy, you're getting excited over mustard. I say, yeah, because it's damn good. Hot dogs, hamburgers, deli sandwiches, whatever tailgate food you're having that you're going to put mustard on, try the Stadium Mustard. That gives the difference. It gives that little extra. Just like the Browns are going to need a little extra today. Stadium Mustard gives you that little extra. So we're going to have some giveaways. We're going to have some shirt giveaways coming up soon. We're going to have some mustard stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. So welcome to my guys at Stadium Mustard as we get rolling on week 4 in the NFL. And Grant Delpa was saying this week, folks, and I agree with him. He was saying, hey, you know what? This is a must win. And that was before Max Crosby and Davante Adams was ruled out. Now the pressure swings back a little bit, but he was saying it's a must win. I like the urgency of that defense. And remember, the Gardner Minshew mania, homeless Baker Mayfield, right? He gave the Browns, pushed them to their limits when he was with the Colts last year. Remember, that was the game that arguably won Myles Garrett the Defensive Player of the Year. Remember where he jumped over the line and blocked the field goal? It was like Super Mario. Just jumping up, ate the mushroom, and popped up and blocked it. But Gardner Minshew, he threw for 2, ran in a couple touchdowns. Like, he was phenomenal. Now they know, now they're back. And that Raiders team, Antonio Pierce, hey, coach, he was furious, and rightfully so, last week when Andy Dalton came in and beat him on their home opener. And by the way, we'll get to our best bets, our DraftKings Sportsbook a little bit later. Who told you to go with the Panthers last week? I did. I don't know this week. Andy Dalton revenge game against the Bengals. That'll be interesting. We'll get into that later too. But yeah, Myles Garrett there. Gardner Minshew you can't overlook, but apparently he's going to be on a short leash. Aiden O'Connell's there as well. Now, this Raiders team is not good, but they beat the Raiders. So they're hungry. They're angry. Antonio Pierce has been able to fire up his crew, but you're shorthanded. For a team like the Browns, you fancied yourself a Super Bowl contender coming into the year. You're 1-2. You got to win this game. I don't care if it's convincing. I don't care if it's 17-13, 9-6, or 45-38. I don't care. You got to win it. And this is a case where the Browns offensive line really has to try to pull together on the penalty side, right? The penalty side has been driving all of us Browns fans nuts because not only are you banged up, you're going to have James Hudson and DeJuan Jones, it looks like, are in today. Jed Wills and Conklin banged up. Wills hurt his knee again last week, so they're in. The tackles, Wyatt Teller to the IR right guard. That's a big loss. We'll see what Zach Zintner can do as a rookie. Highly touted rookie coming in, had that leg injury, but that's all healed up. Cut down the penalties to nothing or as close to it as you can get. You need to not put yourself in those stupid situations that we've been seeing week to week. You can't have it. Can't have it anymore. And so when we look at what the Browns have to go through, we have that. David Njoku looks like he's in a couple weeks away. How about this for a little bit of good news, though? Reports out of Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter, NFL Network and ESPN, say the Browns are expected to open the practice window for Nick Chubb coming up this week, which means they have 21 days after activating it to put him on the active roster. That would be, I think, a huge uplift to Browns fans, to the team. Who knows what Nick Chubb is able to do, though, behind that offensive line? And what offense are we getting today, right? What offense? So here's the concerning part, and we're going to get a little negative, and then we're going to bring it back positive, and we're going to talk a lot of fantasy football. You can get your fantasy questions in using hashtag AskAndy on X, at AndyMC81, at SickPodBrowns, and on social, and in the chat as well. Okay, Browns, how about this? Through 3 games, the Browns offense ranks 28th in completion percentage, 30th in yards per attempt, 27th in passer rating. Do you know the only players that the Browns are ahead of for quarterbacks? Deshaun Watson, rookies Caleb Williams and Bo Nix. That's it. That's what your $230 million quarterback gets you, is giving you lip at the press conferences too about that fourth down. Bo Nix and Caleb Williams. Okay. I think it's mental with Deshaun Watson. We see the slow decision making, but this also comes to the Browns and their terrible first down, 3.47 beneath the 5.4 average yards on first down. It's unacceptable. So that comes down to everybody. People want to place blame on one. It's not. It's poor play calling. It's poor offensive line play with injuries. And it's Deshaun Watson slow processing. It seems when one thing clicks, something else goes wrong with it. So we gave those of us who were generous with time, said, okay, Deshaun, you didn't play in the preseason. All right, you wanted to get healthy. I get it. You didn't play. Well, the preseason is 3 games. So even if you played in all 3, which you wouldn't have, this is now game 4. There are no more excuses. Figure it out. You get with it, Deshaun. Figure this out. Mentally, the physically is there. We've seen him make some nice passes to Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper bounced back big time. The excuses have to stop for Deshaun Watson. Because if you lose this game and Deshaun Watson looks like how he did, I don't care what the other aspects of things go. If you lose this game, your ass needs to be benched. Because this is getting stupid. 4th game, how long? People, it's only week 2. It's only week 3. It's only week 4. When's it going to be? Only week 12? And we're still seeing this? Figure it out or take a seat, pal. And it would be a disaster. So I think we have to lean on what Kevin Stefanski has been able to do as Browns head coach. Okay? What he's been able to do as Browns head coach is bounce back more often than not from a loss, like he did after week 1. Now 22-9 is Kevin Stefanski's record after a loss. Max Crosby either isn't going to play or isn't 100%. Devontae Adams is out. You have no excuses to lose this game. Grind it out no matter how it looks. Hopefully we see a step forward for Deshaun Watson, but the main thing, get the win. That's it. Just get it. Just get it. That's all. I think the Browns win this one. I'm feeling kind of 17-13-ish. That's kind of where I think I'll go with that. 17-13, 21-7, that type of thing. I think a 17-13, a couple touchdowns and a field goal would feel nice. Browns 2.5-point favorites. Let me know what you think. Browns winning this thing? They're going to win. Grant Delpit said it. Must win. Myles Garrett's going through 4 injuries. He said he's like a wounded animal. They're the fiercest. Well, let's see it, Myles. Let's see it, baby. Come on. Reduce the snap count. Make it effective. Get it done. And Schwartz said, look, we know what Gardner Minshew can do. Now let's see if they actually learn. Let's see if he can adjust, unlike they did quickly at all. Took to the second half with Malik Neighbors against the Giants, and before that in week 1 with the Dallas Cowboys. Can you do it? Will you be able to do it? Get me your predictions in. Jump in the comments. Click subscribe, notifications on X, at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81. Again, make sure with our guys at Stadium Mustard, from ballparks to backyards and everywhere in between, Stadium Mustard is a smooth but spicy mustard, rich in taste and tradition. Stadium Mustard is real and organic, not manufactured. Available at the Browns Stadium, Guardians Minor League, and Northwoods League matchups. And again, for me, you see the bottle right there. I got one in my fridge. I got the shirt on. Goes tremendous. Perfect. Tailgate. You're getting ready for the Browns. Come on, get yourself some Stadium Mustard. Okay, let's talk some fantasy football, boys. Let's go. We'll get to our best bets, our parlay party a little bit later on. I went with all these injuries, with all the uncertainties coming up. I said, you know what? I got to dig in and I got to get my fantasy football expo fellow alumnus, get a roundtable going. I got to bring on Fernando, Geronimo from Sports Time HQ, and Michael Sicoli, 2 of my favorite fantasy minds. Gentlemen, hello. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Great to have you. Michael, you're on mute, brother. I can't hear you.
See, I'm still back in 2020 when we're all learning this out. But I mean, who doesn't love a reunion on a lovely Sunday morning?
That's right. It's a great day for football, gentlemen. Great day for football. Great day for fantasy football. And I'm sure, and I'm going to be pulling up our the fantasy injuries, because everything, we'll do it in real time. People jump in. We'll get to your hashtag Ask Andy questions on the live chat on YouTube, on Twitter, on X, at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81, Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. So let's get to a few of these injuries, guys, and some areas where we look at it and it's like, well, okay, what should we expect today? So we have Deebo Samuel, may play, may be limited for the 49ers. We saw Juwan Jennings go off big time. Justin Herbert is banged up. We just mentioned Devontae Adams out for the Raiders. Players slated to return soon: Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Kendrick Bourne, DJ Chark, Nick Chubb, as we mentioned. Rachaad White has popped up on the injury report with food poisoning. Looks like he'll be fine. Fernando, let's start with you. All these injuries we're entering week 4. What has this done to your fantasy football strategy, man? It's just throwing everything out the window.
I mean, for mainly for everybody that drafted at the 101, for me, has been the biggest, like, the saddest story for them.
Yeah.
I mean, we know 101 has been like the biggest curse in the last 10 years or so. Not many people have finished as the RB1 or what's not by being that first guy picked. CMC's definitely been the worst one this season, but the injuries have really just been all over the place. You're getting the injuries left and right. I mean, for instance, in Los Angeles for the Rams, I mean, Cooper Kupp, and then you have just Puka Nacua. It's just so sad to see all these injuries happening. Now you got Devontae Adams, a big name player, a guy you drafted high, now being out. Rachaad White, another top running back, going to get limited, might play. I mean, it really shakes up the team. You really have to dive deep into the waiver wire this season. Yeah,
you really do. And Michael, we have as well Chris Olave for the Saints. Like, you just keep rolling. He's going to be a game time decision with his hamstring. Like, it's just TJ Hawkinson's going to be coming off of the injury report soon and be able to have that practice window open. But this is all over the place. Bucky Irving, too. Keenan Allen, questionable. The thing we hate in fantasy, Michael, of course, is when you have that Q beside the name, right? Because then you just don't know.
Listen, it's the few times in my life where I missed the probable designation from a few years ago, where maybe some of these guys might be closer, are food poisoning people. Yeah, we're pretty sure Rachaad White's going to be fine, but don't give me the stress until 1 p.m.,
Yes.
Eastern at least.
I know.
But yeah, I mean, like Fernando was saying, the injuries this season have been just absolutely brutal. I've been mourning Puka Nacua ever since week 1, and honestly before that into the preseason. So I mean, it's going to be an interesting discussion next year about how this impacts draft strategy, if at all. But, I mean, this is football. It's a contact sport. We have injuries every year, and it sucks. But we figure it out with guys like Jawan Jennings. We figure it out with whatever Rams receiver is going to catch 2 touchdowns today against the Bears.
Right.
It's going to be ugly, but that's what fantasy football is at times. So we'll muddle through it together.
If you guys are looking, let's go to that Rams game quick here, because I know Demarcus Robinson was the early kind of pickup. He just hasn't really done it. The offensive line's banged up for the Rams too. But what about a little Tutu Atwell? We forget last year. It was fun to say, right? We had Puka and Tutu we were talking for the first 5 weeks of the season. Is Tutu the play over Demarcus Robinson today? Fernando, you? Yeah?
I mean, he's been my waiver wire pickup for the last 2 weeks for the wide receiver category. I think he is the explosive guy there. And if you saw 2 seasons ago when Cooper Kupp started the season on IR, he was lights out. Tutu Atwell was Matthew Stafford's guy. And I still believe that. And you saw kind of some flashes last week. And I think if this is how it's going to move forward with Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua showing injury, it's got to be Tutu Atwell. And he's, I think, the only guy I can trust on that team to start in the wide receiver category.
It kind of looks that way, and it's a bit dicey too, because we know, Michael, that Stafford is he's statuesque. I will give him credit. Sometimes he can impress you a little bit with his nimble. He can be a little nimble, a little slippery, but not too much. Is Tutu the play to use? Is there anybody else on that Rams team? Because it looks like if you can keep Stafford clean, he can still distribute the ball.
And we see this with, it's not uncommon that these statuesque quarterbacks play into their late 40s because they just know how to work the pocket so well.
Yep.
We saw it with Brady. We're seeing it with Rodgers. We saw it with Breeze. These guys just know how to have pocket presence, and there's Stafford still at the top of his game at doing that. And I'll throw out another name here. I appreciate Fernando at the last second throwing it at the wide receiver position, because I can agree with that, because I think Colby Parkinson is going to have a very solid week, at least by our current tight end standards, which are as low as they have been for the last 15 years. So with that in mind, I think Colby Parkinson's good for, at least 5 catches today. Maybe he falls in the end zone. I'm not impressed with this Bears defense so far. So I think that Colby Parkinson's as good as any to be a tight end 1 play this week, possibly more, because, I mean, we were talking about Tutu Atwell. We're talking about Jordan Whittington. We're talking about Demarcus Robinson. Any of these guys can lead the league or lead the team in receptions this week, and I think Colby Parkinson's right up in the category to do that.
Well, you guys are right. That tight end spot, guys, every year we talk about, the tight end spot's bad, but at least we had Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews, or last year Sam Laporta. This year we got nothing. We have nothing across. If you're getting 8 fantasy points from your starting tight end, you have to be happy with that. This is at a level of just fantasy, just turmoil that we haven't seen before, Fernando.
I mean, if you look at Dallas Goedert, who's currently the tight end 1, I mean, the first 2 weeks he was outside the top 12. Yeah, and then all of a sudden he finishes the tight end 1. Now he's the tight end 1 in the whole entire tight end league. I mean, it's crazy to see. But on my show, we always mention, if a tight end scoring 7-8 fantasy points a week, you count yourself a win there. That's just, sadly, that's how you just have to look at it.
Yeah.
7 to 8 points, it's bare minimum, or at least the most that you're expecting to get from a tight end position.
No, it really is. And Michael, from your perspective, let's go to that Steelers Colts game here. And
the 3-0 Steelers. Yeah. Okay. Let's hear it.
Pat
North Steelers. Yeah.
Pat Freiermuth was one of those tight ends that we were expecting, to kind of jump up, and he's fallen into that area of, okay, what's going on? Is that a player you trust? That Steelers offense, and to your credit, we're a Brown show. I hate to admit it, but you guys find a freaking way to pull out wins. But the offense isn't what I would call exciting or dynamic. Fantasy football wise, where are you going with your Steelers here?
Hard disagree there. I've watched Kenny Pickett play football for 2 years. This is as dynamic as I've seen since Ben's elbow went out the door. So,
Amen to that.
Regardless of that, the Pat Freiermuth situation, it's not going to happen at any consistent rate this year. The reason why is Arthur Smith. It's the same reason we saw last year and with Kyle Pitts. He loves using Michael freaking Pruitt. He has been with him from Tennessee to Atlanta to here. and they just are splitting snaps. Darnell Washington's always going to be on the field. He's a terrific blocker. And when you got 3 tight ends getting stable snaps for a team that is going to want to run the ball and is not pushing the ball downfield, and if it is, it's going George Pickens. Pat Freiermuth's role is just too inconsistent to trust. Again, like we've all been talking about, it's the tight end landscape. You can catch a touchdown, and all of a sudden he's the top 3 tight end of the week. But, I do think offensive scoring, which is just down to the first few weeks, I think eventually we'll feel that in the tight end position. I think it'll get back to form. Everything will round out. But for now, even Pat Freiermuth, it's off my playing board.
Yeah. Well, Dallas Goedert probably has the best chance to be another TE1 because Devonta Smith is out. There's another guy out this week with a concussion. A.J. Brown's gone, so Dallas Goedert should feast. So if you got him, there's your top guy. Let's bring up some of our viewer questions here. Let's go to hashtag Ask Andy. And we'll bring that up with Joey Webb on X at Joey Wheeler 85. Says, Andy, I need to pick up 3 of the 4 running backs. J.K. Dobbins, Tony Pollard, Zach Moss, Jordan Mason. Mason is on obvious lock. Yes, apparently Christian McCaffrey could be set to start running on hard ground next week, so he's still a ways away. I think we can agree, Fernando. Mason is a go. Who are your other 2 out of that group?
Personally, I would have to say J.K. Dobbins. I got to give him another chance. Obviously, he didn't do that great last week, but he was still doing really good. And if Justin Herbert is limited, they're going to have to rely on the run game a lot. So I'm all in on J.K. Dobbins this week. And then I'm going to have to say Zach Moss as well. I mean, he hasn't been all the best, but he also hasn't been all the worst. Tony Pollard is just a guy that I just don't really trust all that much.
It's certainly a stagnant offense there in Tennessee. Michael, where are you looking? I'm assuming you're on board with Mason as the one here.
I am, but I will be benching J.K. Dobbins, and I say this with some reluctance because I love J.K. Dobbins. I've been all over him. So happy to see him doing well. There's not a good KC matchup. Both offensive tackles are injured, and I believe they're out for this game.
Yeah, Joe Alt is out for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, the Justin Herbert injury, I don't think it helps Dobbins because if they just stack the box, you're forcing Justin Herbert to drop back on a bad ankle with bad receivers with no Joe Alt and no Rashawn Slater. So I think that this is going to be incredibly difficult for Dobbins to overcome against an already pretty good Chiefs run defense. And I love Zach Moss against Carolina this week, and I love Tony Pollard against Miami this week. Tony Pollard's getting everything. This is not really a split with Tyjae Spears, and if it is, it's only because Will Levis is terrible. Pollard has a great market share in that backfield. I think he finds the end zone. Miami's defense doesn't scare me.
No, and with those tackles, I'm going Pollard Moss as well. I love the dynamic ability that Dobbins has shown, and boy, with all the injuries, good on him. Right?
Better weeks are ahead again.
Yeah,
I agree. I just don't dig this matchup. Okay, Shane, let's go to the next one here. We got, how about this for a handle, boys? At Flubba Jubba 69. Let's go, Flubba Jubba. Who would you bench? Cam Akers, Pollard, Singletary, and JSN Jackson Smith in Jigba, I believe that would stand for. To me, I'm pleasantly surprised with what Singletary has been able to do. Pollard has the higher floor, low ceiling, not dynamic, but behind that Bill Callahan, former Browns offensive line coach, it's been serviceable. Akers, guys, Fernando, with all those injuries, even if he is supposed to get all the touches, and Joe Mixon looks like he should be a game time decision, I think he's just lost his explosiveness. Like we're seeing, like he's not hitting 4 yards per carry anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Mixon, actually, news just came out that he is now inactive today.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
But I'd still bench him. Again, like you said, the injuries have been brutal for him, and the explosiveness just is not there. I'm not in on Akers, and if you had to pick between Akers and Tony Pollard, it's Pollard. I'd have to go with Pollard over Akers. So Akers is the guy I would bench over these guys. Akers
on the bench. Michael, you?
Well, this is an interesting question because Singletary was Thursday Night Football, so I'm curious to see how this impacts what decision was made. Maybe Singletary was benched, and we had, maybe we're stuck with the 3. But if I were to look at just the 3 right now, assuming Singletary was played, I would probably bench Akers as well, because if I'm rolling the dice, Pollard to me is a lock given the assured workload. And I mean, I think Tony Pollard has looked good in return from that tightrope surgery now that he's 2 years removed. Something I would see Mark Andrews struggling with right now. So with Cam Akers, I'm willing to just sit him down because this Achilles is taking years and years maybe recover from. And I'll happily play Pollard, and I will roll the dice on JSN eventually getting going because we got a taste. I know he's a good player. It's a good matchup. I'm willing to roll it out once more.
Just needs the opportunity. I'm with you. We'll bench Akers. We got a bunch of questions flooding in here, guys, so we'll keep rolling with them. Let's get another one up here, Shano. All right. Dobbins or Singletary? Straight up from @AlgoVistas. Dobbins or Singletary? I got to go Singletary.
I'm all in on Singletary. He has been my guy this whole season. I actually have a bet with my other co-host that Singletary will finish way above his ADP based on our other people that we picked. I love Singletary, and of course Saquon left, and all the rushing attempts is going to have to go to Singletary, obviously. Yeah. So Singletary is my guy, and I like him so much more over Dobbins. Obviously,
looks
Singletary
fresh.
Played, but yeah.
Yeah, he looks fresh, looks dynamic. What about you, Michael? You going Singletary?
This would have been a tough decision on that Thursday night game. That Dallas defense was really not good prior to this past week and figured it out a little bit. So, I mean, I probably would have went with Dobbins just because I still trust the player a little bit more. But Singletary's been pretty productive. Better weeks are, again, he's going to be ahead. He got that backfield right now.
Yeah, looking forward.
Tracy.
Yeah, looking forward, we'll go with Singletary. But I think it really becomes a week-to-week situation. On the live YouTube chat, we got Thunderwolf in the house. Rick says T-Wolf in the house. Rick, Thunderwolf, welcome, buddy. So we got that cooking there. Now I sent you another tweet there, Shane. I'm not sure if you got that. There we go. From @Asili1961. Down or Douglas flex half PPR. Boy, Josh Downs or Douglas. That's an ugly sandwich here, guys.
It really is.
I think Downs has more opportunity potentially, but boy, that Colts offense is just like. Well, by the way, we talk about disappointments. Michael Pittman. Holy cow! Has this guy hit double-digit fantasy points yet? And now we got to work him down. It's been not great.
I'll chirp in here. As a Patriots fan, sometimes you just can't trust any of your receivers for the Patriots. But then you have Josh all the time. But obviously Josh Downs, I mean, they're going against Pittsburgh, which, I mean, Michael's going to enjoy hearing this, but they actually give the fourth least amount of points to wide receivers. So Josh Downs is definitely not the guy I have to pick here. I'm rooting for Demario Douglas. He's getting the targets that he did last week, and they're going up against San Francisco, who's supposed to have a good defense. But against wide receivers, they're actually giving the 9th most points to wide receivers in fantasy. So more opportunity for targets for Douglas.
Michael, I would say Asili should get his expectations ready for like 8 fantasy points either way. Your thoughts?
Most likely, yeah. Josh Downs, it could easily be 1 catch for 60 yards out of the slot after the catch, and then he goes 2 catches for 10 yards for the rest of the game, and you get those 8 points right there. But Fernando laid it out perfectly. I'll go with Douglas here as well. It's a better matchup. I think the target share is. I think if I had to pick one to lead. To have more receptions than the other, more targets than the other, it's Demario Douglas to me over Josh Downs.
Yeah, it's just a bad situation. We got on the live YouTube chat, we got our guy Thunderwolf saying Aaron Jones or Josh Jacobs, head-to-head matchup. Aaron Jones contemplating leaping, doing the Lambeau leap potentially in Green Bay. Aaron Jones, I've been impressed, not traditionally handling a full workload throughout a whole season, but he's been looking really sharp. Josh Jacobs a bit up and down. Jordan Love is another possible game time decision. If not this week, next week. Where are you going, Michael? Aaron Jones or Josh Jacobs?
Aaron Jones is where I'm going here. And I'm going to spend 0 time talking about these offenses and just talk everything about Brian Flores' defense being an absolute monster. And if I'm just going to pick between one or the other, I'll take Aaron Jones on a red-hot Vikings team led by comeback player of the year and MVP Sam Darnold. And
what a time to be alive, guys. Sam Darnold 2024.
I'm so here for it. Love Sammy D. But if I'm going to take one, I'll take the team that doesn't have Malik Willis under center right now. Even though he's looked solid, I think this Brian Flores defense is going to put him to the test here. Because I still think they're going to hold Jordan Love out one more week.
I think that's a smart play to it. And credit to the Green Bay coaching staff because Malik Willis is not good. He's not good, but they've done enough to get by, and that's what you want to do. You want to tread water, try to grind your way till your starter gets back. What are you, Fernando? You going Jones or Jacobs?
It's a revenge game for Aaron Jones. I'm all in on Aaron Jones. I'd love to see it. Again, if you told me Sam Darnold was leading the league in touchdowns, passing touchdowns, I'd tell you you're crazy. But Michael's saying comeback player of the year. You could very much see that. And the way he's going, I mean, you never know. He could be MVP, but that's a dark horse MVP.
Oh,
right there.
What are the, you know what? We got to look up someone listening, look up the odds of Sam Darnold comeback player of the year and then MVP, just out of curiosity. That would be, that might be worth a sprinkle here. Let's get to another question here on the live YouTube chat, the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. You can jump in there, or on X at Sick Pod Browns. Watch live, comment live. Joseph Rossitano. Joseph, need to start 1 RB and 1 flex in my full PPR league between Brian Robinson Jr., Pollard, Etienne, and Ayuk. So 1 running back and 1 flex. To me, guys, I'm cutting Ayuk right out. Even with Debo, he's limited comeback. Ayuk has been so unimpressive to me. I think I'm going to go. I like Brian Robinson Jr., but I'm going to go Pollard for sure. And in the flex, let's see. Who are the Jags are playing? Who are the Jags got? They're desperate. They're playing the Texans. They're playing the Texans. Oh boy, you know what? I'm going to say Brian Robinson Jr. I like their matchup against the Cardinals better. Give me Robinson Jr. and Pollard. I'm benching Ayuk and Etienne. Fernando, what do you think?
I mean, you drafted Etienne so high, you got to give him another chance. He's got an opportunity. Give him one more chance at least. But Brian Robinson's definitely a guy you got to plug in. He's been scoring 10 plus points a week. And then Etienne, again, he's a guy that I was all over, and I'm still all over. I just don't see a way where you can bench Etienne. Ayuk, by all means, bench the guy. Guy just wanted to get paid. Now he's just not doing anything for fantasy.
Yeah,
so
not great. Michael?
One more week. One more week of Brandon Ayuk pain. One more week. The Patriots, with all due respect, Fernando, this is not a good defense that has started off better than it actually is.
None taken.
And with Debo off the field, everything's right there. It should happen with Ayuk. It took time. You know, he sat out all of August. They missed a lot of time to build that connection that they already had, but you know, just get back to game shape. We had the shorts incident this week. But I think Brandon Ayuk will get back on track, and in a full PPR league, I just can't avoid that boost. If it's standard or if it was half PPR, maybe you could talk me into Brian Robinson, but I'll go Ayuk and Pollard, which
here's my question
about how disappointing Travis Etienne has been this year.
Here's my question. If Ayuk doesn't score double digits again in redraft leagues, is he droppable?
No.
Wow.
No.
I think with all the injuries, we can't. I like with how many injuries we've seen. I think he's certainly benchable again. I don't know if with the injuries, with how rampant they've been, I'd feel comfortable dropping him straight up. But so Fernando, it's not a bad question. Like, you certainly can think about it, but I wouldn't do it yet.
Yeah. I just felt like throwing it out there. I mean, I don't think I could drop Ayuk either, but he'd definitely be benched. But there comes to a point where you have to cut the big name player to the actual performance and cut him at a time. And
get to it. We'll go through a couple more guys, and then we'll let you run. Busy Sunday on X, on Twitter, at SickPodBrowns, at SportsTime HQ, at Michael _ Sicoli. At Wally 1580 asks, Garrett Wilson or Brian Thomas Jr.? I like what I've seen out of Brian Thomas Jr. in flashes. I would much rather at this point trust Aaron Rodgers getting the ball, though, to Garrett Wilson over Trevor Lawrence. So I'm going to say Garrett Wilson. Michael?
Yeah, you got the Surtain situation, obviously, but this is a case of starting your studs. And while Brian Thomas might be that, and you got a very fun LSU v. LSU matchup with Stingley there. So Stingley was LSU, right? He wasn't Ohio State. But for some reason, I'm blanking in my head right now.
I think he is.
Right. Okay, well then ignore that point, and let's just talk about Garrett Wilson versus Surtain. It's an issue. I understand, and I see Rick M in the comments right now bringing up that concern. But with Garrett Wilson, I trust him to get the ball. His floor is high. Brian Thomas has been very good, but I still have questions about this entire Jaguars team. And the Texans are looking for a very good bounce-back week right now after being a little bit embarrassed and underwhelmed last week. So I'm willing to play Garrett Wilson this week.
Yep. Okay. Fernando, same?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, you can't trust Trevor Lawrence right now. I mean, I still think he should have never got the contract he got.
This is just reeking of a total reboot in Jacksonville with Doug Peterson. They're imploding. This will be a very interesting week to see what happens. Let's get one more here on X at Malem54. Irving or Dobbins. So Bucky Irving Jr. or Dobbins. And we know overall, guys, Bucky Irving Jr. is rising, and the snap share and count is rising. But Rachaad White is getting over food poisoning. He's fine. Bucky, he's got an actual injury. Not so fine. I think maybe the Bucky train might be one more week delayed in arriving at the station. In this scenario, even though, we've talked about the downside of Dobbins this week, I got to go with Dobbins because he's going to get the top touches.
Yeah, I agree too. I mean, especially if Rachaad White is playing, you just can't put in Irving as well. So I got to go with Dobbins.
I want to play Irving in situations where I think the Bucs could be playing from behind. I don't think that's going to be the case here. I think the Bucs actually take a pretty. I think they spank Philadelphia this week, to be kind and candid. Then the Eagles' record without Lane Taylor is or Lane Johnson is not great. Not great. I'll put it like that. So I'll go Dobbins for the workload. But good weeks ahead for Bucky Irving. He's looked better than I thought he would so far.
I've tried picking him up on as many teams waiver wires as I could just to hold, right? So the Bucky Irving, not yet. Rick in the comment section saying play Lazard TD this week. Anytime TD prediction by Thunderwolf there. I don't hate that.
He did Lazard this week.
He did it.
Did you? Yeah, he is one of those frustrating players for fantasy because you want everything going to Garrett Wilson, right? And then once in a while, Lazard will pop up because he's Rodgers' boy. I actually kind of like that play this week, guys. Let me get one bet from you guys on the way out here. It can be your favorite money line, spread, anytime touchdown, over under, whatever you're thinking.
I'll go first if you want to think.
Yeah.
I could tell and I understand. I've been in that exact situation. I'm gonna go. Listen, we've talked. We have had a lot of Dobbins questions, and I completely understand why. And I want to take a second to say we have Bucky Irving, J.K. Dobbins questions here, being a perfect reason why zero RB is still a very strong draft strategy. As the guy with Dobbins in Scott Fishbowl. But aside from that, and aside from tooting my own horn, I'll go with Drew Tranquil here. We want to talk about revenge matchups. I'm going to go defensive props here. Drew Tranquil, linebacker for KC, over 5.5 tackles and assists on DraftKings right now. That's something I'm taking. It's not a high line for someone who's getting 80% snaps. We're talking about running this ball up the middle nonstop. And Drew Tranquil is going to be the blitzer of the two between him and Nick Bolton. So shooting the gap, Drew Tranquil, 6 tackles isn't a ton to hit.
Defensive prop. I love it. Fernando, that's why you're here. Fernando, what do you got?
Yeah, I'll go more offensive side. I'll go with a DK anytime touchdown. I like DK. He's gotten a touchdown the last 2 weeks, and it looks like Geno Smith likes to target him in the red zone. He's a guy I could see getting another touchdown. And if you want another guy too to add to the prop, Montgomery. He has been red hot in the red zone, and the Lions like to use Montgomery in the red zone. And that is a perfect guy that you can always get a possible touchdown with.
Yeah. He's been so dynamic, and actually Gibbs has been able to eat too fantasy wise a little bit, which has been quite strange. Guys, you guys have been phenomenal. Tell the people where they can find you, hear you, get all your great stuff. Fernando, we'll start with you.
Yeah, of course. I am the host of Sports Time HQ. We got our live waiver wire show every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. GMT +2 time for me since I'm studying in a foreign country currently. But you can check us out all over social media at Sports Time HQ. We got our waivers coming out, power rankings, week 4 predictions always coming out. TikTok, we got videos always coming at you.
Love it. And we got in the live YouTube chat, Keith Sheeran says, "Let's go, Fernando."
That's my co-host right there, Keith Sheeran. You can follow him all over social media at SwampDonkey_90 as well.
There you go, Keith. And then Thunderwolf as well says, like the Monty pick, the Montgomery anytime touchdown. Michael, you're doing great work all over the place, brother. What are you doing?
Yeah, so I'm still with IDP Plus over here, so be sure to hop over on that. I got a lot of stuff in the pipelines for over there, and on Twitter. Follow me at Michael__Sicoli. The big thing I want to shout out right now is for all of our fantasy communities that might know Josh Hudson. an amazing person and founder of Club Fantasy FFL, who I also do some work with. Unfortunately, had his house impacted by Hurricane Helena. So highly encourage people to, it's one of my more recent tweets. I'll probably pin it up for the day. Highly encourage people to check out a GoFundMe that our good friend Faith Ennis has set up, because he could very much use it, because it's a terrible situation going down there in the South. So highly encourage people to go over there, give what they can. That'd be great.
Well said. Well said. Well, guys, this was a ton of fun. I think we covered a lot of ground. And look, if you got any more fantasy questions coming in, make sure you're tweeting at the guys. You're hitting them up on all social. And at SportsTime HQ for Fernando, at Michael _Sicoli on X, at SickPodBrowns. Hit them up. Boys, let's do this again soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right. Thank you. There they go, Fernando and Michael. And we still have our parlay party coming up, because we can take what Michael and Fernando did, and I'm going to add in a few more. But first, guys, hey, TD, Tutty, in for 6. Touchdowns matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We don't care how they score them. We want to bet on touchdowns. And DraftKings Sportsbook is delivering. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like player to score a touchdown. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. For example, you can get plus 212 on Amari Cooper with an anytime touchdown today. We've mentioned a couple other possible anytime touchdown interests that could be possible for you. You can do all that on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Remember, when you're ready to do your touchdown dance, right? You got your little shimmy, your shuffle, your shake. You do it at the DraftKings Sportsbook. And new customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets when you use the code 6sports. That's all you got to do. 6sports. $5 bet gets you $200 in bonus bets. You can use that today. You do that now. Use those $200 bonus bets today on the NFL games. It's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be a ton of fun. Download the Sportsbook app and use code 6sports. That's code 6sports for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
There you go, friends. All right, let's build our parlay party here, okay? We got us cooking. I think we're feeling good. The anytime touchdown, I really like what Fernando was saying there out of, who did he say? He said Montgomery. So we're going to find that game right now. We're going to build this up right now. I'm also going to put in Amari Cooper anytime touchdown, which I recommended last week, and he got not one but two. We're not going to go crazy with two, but we're going to say one up to now plus 220. Amari Cooper anytime touchdown. Let's find that Lions game. There we go. We'll pop in a little David Montgomery. What is he? Minus 115. So, brings it down a little bit, but that's cool. And you can throw in the defensive one from that Michael put in. So far, this is what I got. Let's see. Maybe we'll add a couple more. Los Angeles Rams money line in Chicago against the Bears. The Bears have no business being a favorite. Come on. Plus 140, straight up win for the Rams. I like it. Buffalo Bills going into Baltimore. The way that Josh Allen, that team was playing, and the Ravens, you got beat by the Raiders a couple of weeks ago. You're not a finished product by any sense. Plus 116 for the Bills to win straight up. Give me that. Tennessee Titans at Miami Dolphins. Guys, you got Snoop Huntley, former Browns practice squatter, Tyler Huntley. We saw him all preseason. I've said it before he was with the Browns. I said it when he was with the Browns. Tyler Huntley is not a good starting quarterback. He's had chances. He will run. He will get you some points. Look, if you're going in your DraftKings Sportsbook and want a cheap QB flyer to maybe get you some DFS fantasy points with his legs, I guess Huntley could do it. But you have that team and Huntley, and the Titans aren't – look, they're not scaring anybody. If Will Levis cannot implode on himself for a week – you can go down and win that game. Plus 122 on the Titans. A little risky, but I like it. Amari Cooper plus 220, anytime touchdown. And David Montgomery minus 115. Let's pop that in. That's a 5-legger parlay. We bet $10 on that. $678.51. That's not bad. Do you got any other parlays you want to throw in? Any props? You can jump in. Let me know. Jump in the comment section. Let me know on social. Of course, Sick Pod Browns on X at AndyMC81 and on Instagram and TikTok at AndyMC Sports. And make sure, again, you're using that code SICKSPORTS to jump in and have a great time on DraftKings Sportsbook using Sick Sports. So, folks, there we go. Thank you so much to Fernando, to Michael. Let's see what the Browns can do with a limited Max Crosby. Deshaun Watson just has to do enough. I'm getting 17-13 Browns win over the Raiders, and we'll be cooking up some victory pancakes on Monday. We'll be back on Tuesday's show to review that game and look ahead to the next week's fantasy football waiver wire. For producer Shane, I'm Andy McNamara. Come on, Browns. Give us something to look forward to. Get back to 2-2 in Vegas against the Raiders. Thanks to all the guests. Thanks to all of you. As always, go Browns.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.